This video is a collection of what you might call, I guess, power user tips for SPHEREx. So from the main IRSA page, click on SPHEREx and then go to the SPHEREx Data Explorer. There are three main tools in the SPHEREx Data Explorer. There's more than you can get from here, but I'm going to focus primarily on the spectral image search, the spectrophotometry tool, and the mosaic tool. And the job monitor is the last tab here, and you'll see in a few minutes why that's really important too. So the first thing you might be interested in doing is the spectral image search. So you can put in coordinates or an object name. What it's loading in the background here is an all-sky image, and the yellow is where there are data available, and the red is things called the SPHEREx deep fields, which you'll have to get into the documentation that goes with the SPHEREx data release to understand the importance of that. But for now, I'm just going to put in the coordinates that I want to use for this demonstration. I could also put in timing and spectral coverage constraints, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and search, and I can send that to the background. I'm going to go to the spectrophotometry tool, and it's got the same position I just put in. Again, I could change the title, submit, send to background, and the mosaic tool. Same position. I could change the title, but I'm not going to right now. Submit, send to background. Okay, so in theory then, I've got all these things churning, but no data yet shown. We go to the job monitor. So these are the three jobs I just submitted: spectral images, spectrophotometry targets, and the mosaic. So the images came back super quick, but I sent it to the job monitor, so it didn't appear in the results yet. So to get it to appear, I'm going to click on the results icon. So now that's the list of images that it found. And when I go to the data tab here, those are the individual frames that it found. By default, it doesn't have the cutouts turned on. If I want to turn it on, I can tell it maybe give me 10 arc minutes around my target. Now by default, it had table row position. What I want is the user entered position, which is, let's put in the position that I searched on, update cutout. So now this is centered on the target that I asked for. And so if I scroll through this list, it's going to show me these little cutouts of my target. Now remember that because of the nature of the SPHEREx data, not only is each position in the image have a unique RA index, it also has a unique wavelength. So that's what these other jobs are doing. So the mosaic here is extracting the individual segments of each image that correspond to wavelength ranges, and the spectrophotometry is actually doing PSF fitting and extracting spectrophotometry from each one of those constituent images. So the reason it takes a while is because it has to do that for 227 images. So when you're doing your targets, it might be easiest when you first start to do this kind of a spectral image search, because by doing that initially, then you get a sense of how much work it's going to have to do. So something on the order of 200 images, that's pretty common, and that should take, for the mosaic tool, about 2 minutes typically, and for the spectrophotometry tool, should take 5 to 10 minutes typically, although, yeah, there are definitely issues with the degree to which our servers are being hammered by denial of service attacks, and the degree to which other people are also trying to run these kinds of jobs on the SPHEREx servers. So to keep an eye on these things, you can keep an eye on the created time. By default, it's going to tell you in universal time, but you can also shift it to give you the time in your time zone. You can also put in an email, and if you do put in an email, then when you toggle this, it will send you an email when it's done. So if you want to be able to walk away from it, that's an easy way to do it. The other thing is you can just keep feeding jobs into the queue. Right now, it's running for me 2 different spectrophotometry jobs. That's all it's going to let me do. If I submit a third spectrophotometry job, it will hold it queued up. So you can just queue up a whole bunch of them and just walk away. You can then let it manage the job handling, and you can have it email you when it's done, or you can just come back and visit this page. Now, I'll caution you that if you really don't want to lose the information, you probably should log in before you do that, so that you are certain to, for example, if you pick up your laptop and move to a different IP address on a different Wi-Fi, if you log in, then you won't lose the jobs. Now here, the Mosaic job finished. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to load the Mosaic. So there's the Mosaic. It's got 3 different HDUs, the image, the number of hits, meaning the number of times that part of the sky was hit with an observation, and the accumulated flags, bit flags. For each one of those HDUs, there are 102 planes, each one of which corresponds to a different wavelength. Now, it didn't take very long to make this Mosaic. So it might be tempting to do the drill extraction tool, and rather than continuing to wait for the spectrophotometry to finish, I can just click and pin, and then wow, it looks like I have an extracted spectrum. Well, that's a quick look. You might think of it as a quick and dirty spectrum, because this is in megajanskis per steradian. It's not doing anything fancy. It's not doing background subtraction. It's not doing PSF fitting. It's not doing anything sophisticated at all. All it's doing is poking through the cube. You can ask it to do a 1x1, 3x3, 5x5, or 7x7 pixel aperture, but it's not doing anything sophisticated. It is designed to give you a quick look. So by doing this, you can decide whether or not it's worth your time to actually submit a spectrophotometry job, whether or not it's worth your time to wait for the results. So it's going to take a little while to do a spectrophotometry run. The more frames you have, the longer it's going to take. Now, especially if you submit a whole bunch of jobs, I strongly recommend that you take advantage of the ability to change the title. You can see here that I've got multiple jobs all with the same name, like spectrophotometry targets, SPHEREx, Mosaic. It doesn't help me remember what these jobs were because I submitted these several minutes ago, and especially given my ADHD, I don't remember what I submitted. I can go look here and I can try to figure out exactly what it was that I submitted, but it's going to retain the RA index. It's not going to retain the target name. So that doesn't necessarily help me remember exactly what I did. But when you go to the spectrophotometry tool, you can change the title that you put in. When you go to the Mosaic tool, you can change the title so that then when you go to the job monitor, it becomes much easier to remember. Oh, that was the M101 Mosaic. That was the Lick calcium spectrophotometry extraction. So then when it's done, I can go, oh, yeah, no, that was the Lick calcium 4 spectrophotometry run. And then I can now remember what it was. And it becomes easier for me to manage those jobs. If I manipulate the title, then I can better understand the stuff in the job monitor. So the spectrophotometry tool, here it's native in the SPHEREx environment. So that when I click on the point in the spectrum, note that the units here are microjanskis, not megajanskis per steradian. So this is a real spectrum. It's got the background subtracted, it's PSF fitted, it's taken into account. If it knows that there is a nearby neighbor, then it's taken that into account. Then this central image corresponds to the source, the point that you've picked, right? And you can enable the mask layer, so you can show all of them. I would recommend that you turn off the source bit, and then you can scroll through and try to figure out whether or not that's an absorption line or an outlier, for example. You get some of these same features when you save the file, if you upload it back into IRSA Viewer, you get some of these features. But because this is a SPHEREx product, it works best in the SPHEREx native environment. It's designed to be viewed here. So indeed, there are different bits for this image and therefore this point than some of the other points. So it's probably worth looking into that. In order to save these data, you click at the top to select all of them, or you can select individual lines and then prepare download. And then this too goes into the background, and it becomes another thing that the job monitor keeps track of for you. From the spectral image tab, you can also download full images there. You can ask for the original tiles, the cutouts, calibration files. Flattened file structure just determines whether it's in subdirectories or not. And again, download script, send to background, and then the job monitor keeps track of that. Remember too that for the spectrophotometry tool, you can do a multi-object upload. So I can go and get, for example, a list of targets. In this case, I've got 14 targets in this list. You can do up to 20. Then you load the table, and you can specify right ascension and declination and a label for each one of the targets. And then I'm going to specify that this is Taurus 8, update the title, and then submit the job. Send it to the background. So now the job monitor, see, it shows queued because I've already got 2 spectrophotometry jobs running. So it's going to hold on to that until one of those jobs finishes, and then it'll start running that job for me. And because I've changed the title, now I'll be able to easily remember what this job was. And the final word of advice I can give you is downloading the data from the spectral images tab is you select the rows, generate download. From the spectrophotometry tool, even when you have multiple targets, if you just click on the diskette, you save just the table. If you want to save the table from the spectrum over here, you can just save the diskette there. If you want to save the plot, click on the diskette. But if you want to download the data, then you have to select the row and prepare download. To save the mosaic, though, you actually want to go up here and pick the diskette from the mosaic. Because it's a different kind of a data product, the way that you have to save it is different. Have fun playing the SPHEREx data because it really is really cool. There's a lot of really neat things in it.